Um, Elias, it's great to be back together again. Another wonderful issue of Ownership Matters. Let's start with Tim Hewitt and Arizmendi Association.
Yeah, great project, great guy. This is an interview. It's two parts because it was just so full of vitamins, you know. Tim Hewitt is a remarkable guy. He's been doing this for over 20 years. So now it's not just the Arizmendi bakeries, it's the Arizmendi Association. 9 co-ops, 6 of which are bakeries, one of which is a landscaping company, another is a design build firm, and finally a technical assistance co-op, which is pretty interesting. So Tim has a lot of great insight and lessons. He's talking about the way in which they kind of reinvented the franchising model, except they sort of turned it upside down. So now they offer centralized services, but sort of in a bottom-up way. The services don't control the co-ops. The co-ops are relatively free to innovate and control their own destinies, which is really interesting within a certain kind of structure and within a certain kind of culture. So they are very developed, sophisticated in the way they put these processes together. And what I'm hoping is to just share their secrets, you know, which is where Tim would like to go also. So it's a wonderful.
It's phenomenal to have somebody in our ecosystem that has done this for so long now and has learned so many things and is thoughtful about organizational development and leadership development within cooperative management of the bakeries and the effectiveness of them. There's so much richness to the insights there. I'm so excited for part 2 coming out in the next issue. Tell us about Solidarity Economics.
Yeah, this is a really interesting book. The authors claim that there are really kind of 3 premises you need to think about when you want to understand solidarity economics. The first one is a very simple one, which is it's our economy, not the economy.
I like it.
So this is a way of saying this is a human invention. This is not physics. It is human association and the laws, quote unquote, laws around that. So they're very good about explaining why we need to kind of recapture this in our imaginations. The second thing is we do better when we act together. So there's a strong thread of mutualism through the book and many examples of mutualism at work historically and all the way up through the present day. There's also in that section a critique of the current system, the neoliberalism that we've been through in the last half century, the after effects of which are crashing around us every day in the news, you know, in a lot of ways. And finally, and this is interesting, this seems to me very correct, the solidarity economy is about social movements being crucial to the change we need. Yeah. So it's not merely a legal change, it's not merely a governmental change, it's really a larger social awareness that has to change. And they're very good on this, very, very interesting and lots of good stuff in there.
I'm so excited to dive in further on that. And it's so pressing for our time when I think about other social change leaders, whether it's, you know, Gandhi or King or nonviolence. I think it's what's the similar thing that's waking up all around us right now. And I think drawing attention to that, putting that at the center of our work is not necessarily intuitive for those in kind of business or finance, but I think the call and the invitation is that, like you said, it's human. So there's so many good insights there. Tell us about Certified EO.
I just discovered these guys. I was sort of vaguely aware of them out in San Francisco. They thought, you know, there's a thing called a B Corp, there's a thing called organic food. There are these kind of brands or these labels that people have come up with. Why don't we create a label that says this really is a for real employee-owned company, and there's certain hoops you got to jump through to get there. So they've done a very smart job of putting together this certification process. It's not super easy, but it's legit. It's very serious. And they have over 400 companies now that meet their guidelines. So we gave them a little plug, a little write-up. They're run by a very interesting guy, Thomas Dudley, who has a great blog. And if you want to be a member, 30% of your company's got to be employee-owned, excluding the founders. There has to be reasonable access to ownership for every employee. And thirdly, the ownership among employees cannot be too concentrated. So that's the story.
It's so good to have that so explicitly laid out. And finally, you have a big gathering tomorrow, Elias.
Yeah. We were going to ask Dan Fireside, who was just the subject of an interview in the newsletter and is a new contributing editor, to sit down and talk about his background, his very interesting and unusual background in funding social movements. So this is a tricky piece of business. He learned how to fund social enterprises like Equal Exchange, and he got very good talking to investors. And now he's moved one level up with Downtown Crenshaw and some other big projects where he's going out and raising, very serious money for bigger visions. So I think there should be a lot of cool lessons that we can learn from Dan Fireside.
Once again, Elias, you've done it with Ownership Matters. Please subscribe, ownershipmatters.net. We look forward to having you join us.